On your Twitter profile picture, there's this picture of you, this sort of fantastic sort of luxuriant male of hair.
James Hunt, Barry Sheen look, you know.
Do you think you'd ever grow it back?
No.
No?
It wouldn't look quite the same.
You don't think?
No, it was the hippie days. It was the Doors, you know, the Doors. I had my loon trousers with the big flares. That was cool days, man. It was cool days.
No longer. No. Over the sort of last series that you've just filmed, what was sort of the most enjoyable segment you think to film?
I'm still trying to soak it all up because we've been filming non-stop for about 2.5 months. But History sent us out to these countryside specials, so it's been quite fun for me because we've been investigating Poland and Romania and South Africa. But South Africa I know a bit better, but it was nice and warm out there. So it was great fun to go out and get stuck into, you know, researching and finding stories in strange countries.
So I suppose with the Lotus 69, is it? Well,
that was my own little favourite.
Yeah.
That's the best item ever recorded, ever on any TV motoring programme, and will remain so. That will now be my favourite motoring item. It's just the fact that, you know, we were looking at doing a story about how, you know, racing cars are so much quicker in a way than a road car. So Lotus had brought out a new Exige, and I had this little car that I won in a magazine competition that got my career going. It was 1971, and I bought it back 2 years ago. So I race it again now myself for some fun, but we thought to put it in the programme would be quite good to do as well, and so for me it was very special.
So out of all the new cars you drove in the series, what would you say was your favourite?
Well, so amazingly, something like the Citroen Cactus, simply because we discovered this, you know, when you first discover new cars, we do these team tests in every show, which something we're very proud of, we've sort of developed, as it were. So we just look at normal cars, occasionally supercars, or Porsche Macan was probably the biggest one on a team test. But all of a sudden you have to sort of look around a new machine, and the Cactus with its defensive armour is a typically Citroen thing, and it's nice to discover people like Citroen still make these quirky machines which other manufacturers are too scared to produce. You know, like the new Ford Mondeo was probably a disappointing side. You know, it was very normal and bland and lost any sense of adventure. So it's fun discovering things like the Citroen Cactus. A Lamborghini Huracan in South Africa was a pretty special moment. So, but it seems they're going to be obvious, you know, that you're going to like those sort of things. It's hard to be disappointed.
What was it like filming with Chris Harris?
Great fun. Yeah, Chris, of course, is very well known on the internet, a journalist, and a very quick driver. I know that. You know, he always tries to downgrade his driving talents, but they're really right up there with any professional racing driver. And so to have the opportunity to film with him, I knew it was going to be fun because I knew what his character's like, and it worked out very well. So that's one I think for everyone to look forward to.
So who's the better driver, you or him?
Well, obviously me. I mean, yes,
you
know, obviously, but he's close.
If you think back sort of your sort of long motorsport career, which are the most satisfying and fun class to compete in out of all?
Most fun was Formula Ford. You know, the fact that I had a transit van and a trailer, and for 5 years, you know, we bounced around the country. We could race every weekend in Formula Ford in those days. But I think, you know, Formula Ford then was what karting is today, really, because when I started, karting was just a sort of a fun thing. It wasn't a racing driver career move. So, you know, the first 5 years of my life learning the ropes was from age 17 to 22 in Formula Ford. Now it's from like 8 to 15 in karts, which is why, you know, the average age of Grand Prix drivers has shrunk so much. But also the cars weren't so technical, so you could set a car up and win races without that much mechanical knowledge, whereas now if your single-seater suspension pull rod is 2 millimetres too long, you know, it won't go around corners. So it's a shame that you can't uninvent science, because the cars now are so scientific. It's more the engineering setup than the actual driving talent.
If you think back to sort of your short stint in F1, if you could have signed for any team at the time, which would it have been?
Williams. Funny enough, I actually went when I couldn't get the permanent Formula 1 drive. I just had a couple of races with Ensign while they were waiting for Lammers to be fit again. And I actually phoned Williams up and spoke to Frank about, you know, having a test driver, you know. And the answer then was, well, no, I mean, why do you want a test driver? Our racing drivers do the testing. And in fact, so I was just 1 year ahead of my time, because the very next year, Williams signed Jonathan Palmer to be their test driver. So test drivers hadn't been invented. I almost invented them myself, but they didn't want me because they're racing drivers doing the testing. So, but Williams was a great team then in the early 80s. They won the World Championship with Alan Jones, and Frank Williams is so British. And I loved the Williams team and the way they work.
What's the most frightening moment you've had behind the wheel?
frightening. Well, the point is you don't really get frightened. I think people think racing drivers are brave, but we're not at all. We're actually scaredy cats, you know. But when we're driving racing cars, we're doing what we know we do best, and nothing will go wrong with us. And I suppose I think a fire at Le Mans in '82, well, that was pretty spooky. In '89, it was 1989. But again, you don't get frightened, because this is the great thing about being a racing driver. You learn that what you should do in the public roads is to concentrate 100% on driving a car. You know, you don't crash because you drive too fast or too close. You crash because you're not concentrating 100% on driving. And when you see racing drivers have crashes, we don't have shock afterwards. You should get out and you go back to the pits and start talking about repairing the car, because you've concentrated and you're ready for anything to go wrong. So we don't really get frightened or shocked. The most frightening thing for me was going in an acrobatic aeroplane, which scared the life out of me because I had no control at all.
What one car do you regret selling?
Regret selling? Well, that one, well, the racing car, but I bought it back again, so I can't regret that anymore because I've now re-owned it. So I probably regretted selling my racing car, but now I've got it back again. But I had a BMW 323i that I loved for a long time. Yeah, with that sort of weird wah barking exhaust tone, and all the Alpina wheels on it, and that was pretty special.
What do you currently drive?
I got a BMW again. I've got a 535i Touring now. Family car. Has to be rear-wheel drive, sporty saloon. Can't go wrong with it.
So rear-wheel drive is your
Yes.
layout choice?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
For the steering feel and stuff, yeah, it's just the way things should be.
Big question. Every car you've ever tested, what's been road cars? What's been your favourite?
There's still the McLaren F1. I always say it. It was just, it'll never be beaten now. Supercars company only had 600 horsepower. Now we've got this ridiculous 1,000 horsepower cars. But all 600 horsepower were immediately activated by the move of your right foot. And the gears were changed by the move of your right hand. And the brakes worked because you pressed the pedal and you pressed harder to make them stop more.
Doing 240 at Millbrook?
Yeah, I averaged 100. I still hold the British closed circuit speed record, averaging
Is that
190.
pretty high up there in your sort of lifetime achievements?
Well, I nearly killed myself for comic relief, so it wasn't a good idea because the tyres blistered at 205 miles an hour. It was a bit of a moment getting it all halted. I suppose that was pretty scary. Well, again, I wasn't scared at the time, you know, I was just busy trying to sort out the problem as I concentrated. Whereas now the Bugatti Veyron, a LaFerrari or McLaren P1, when you open the throttle, the computer then decides, well, we've got 1,000 horsepower, but it's a bit slippery, you can only have 200 horsepower now or 300 horsepower. So you're not in control anymore. Computers drive these new supercars as they do Formula One cars, and I think that's the shame, that the driving element is getting just taken away more and more.
Have you ever driven a car that you can't get airborne at Millbrook?
No, certainly not. Everything goes in the air, the Millbrook yump. It's getting around the corner afterwards is always the problem.
If you could race in any category right now, what would that be?
I think the British GT Championship, and that's developed fantastically. Certainly I prefer that to the BTCC, which is a bit of a bash fest for shopping trolleys. And I think the British GT, you know, I don't particularly want to do 6 hours non-stop in a car anymore, so the little 1 hour British GT races would be perfect.
Best moment in your motorsport career?
Well, yeah, being on the Grand Prix grid is pretty special, and that's the aim. When you think, you know, I always think every Premiership football team has got more people in their squad than the whole Grand Prix grid. You know, the chances of getting on a Formula One Grand Prix grid is so small. So to have battled up through the ranks and got the drive and not had to pay for it was pretty special. But racing at Le Mans was the main central theme for my career. So being on the podium there in 1990 was pretty special as well.
If I may wrap up with another not particularly serious question, is the dress blue or black or white and gold?
It's white and gold, for goodness sake, everybody grow up.
Okay, I think that's about wraps up time. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. All the best, mate.